Good morning, afternoon, or evening, everyone. My name is Jeremy Walsh, and I'm the Director of Support, Training, and Documentation for BNI Connect. I'd like to welcome everybody to the webinar today. Today's webinar is on the online slips here in BNI Connect. And as we all know, we go to our weekly BNI meetings, and for the past 30 years or so, we've been filling out pieces of paper to turn in our referrals or our one-to-ones or a thank you for closed business. Well, a couple of years ago, when BNI Connect came out, we now have that ability to electronically record that information. And this has a lot of benefits over just filling out a piece of paper at the chapter meeting. The first of which is that we can track that information at a much deeper level than we can when we're just turning in paper. We also have that information about the referral that we can carry with us throughout the length of our membership and be able to look back at the details of those transactions. And finally, it also makes your leadership team's job a whole lot easier, because instead of them having to count out all those little pieces of paper at the end of the meeting, that information is automatically entered for them into BNI Connect. So this is part of an ongoing series of learning for especially new members, but also members that are just getting on to BNI Connect for the first time. So this is the second part in our series. If you missed yesterday's webinar, please do check out the recording. It's available on the support site and on our YouTube channel. And then to continue with the series, we will be going on on Tuesday with connecting with other members, next Wednesday with member tools and reports, and we're going to round out the series next Thursday with how to invite and register visitors. So before we get started with today's content, just a couple of last housekeeping things, the first of which is that this is a live webinar. So if you have any questions whatsoever as we're going through the material today, please do feel free to ask those questions. I'm happy to answer any and all questions about BNI Connect. The only silly question is the unasked question. As I mentioned, we record all of our webinars that we do here in BNI Connect, and we do make them available to you to either share them or view them or review them or pass them on to another member that you may think could benefit from seeing the information. You can find those on the support site, which you can get to by clicking the question mark here in BNI Connect. You can also find them on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/BNI Connect Global. Again, youtube.com/BNI Connect Global. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. By the way, I didn't mention these webinars are typically about 30 minutes. I do like to be respectful of everybody's time. I know everybody's a busy entrepreneur out there, so get you guys back to your daily doings and your next appointment and your billable hours. But again, that being said, I'm always happy to stay until every single question's answered. So if you do have a little bit more time, please do feel free to ask as many questions as you would like. All right, so online slips. Now what we're looking at here is this is the page that you'll see when you first log into BNI Connect, and it's called the My BNI Business page, which you can see here, the My BNI Business page. And the My BNI Business page essentially is your statistical history here in BNI. So this is all of the data that's been entered for you or that you've entered since you became a member. Now, myself, I am a member, by the way, of BNI. I'm a member of the Wakefield chapter here in the great state of Rhode Island, and I've been a member since 2002. So what we're looking at here on the screen is essentially my last 12 months of being a member and all of my statistics for the last 12 months, but then also my lifetime statistics. So this is going back to really 2002, since I first became a member, and all of those statistics. Now, keep in mind, those statistics predate BNI Connect. So some of those are from before we had BNI Connect and even before we had the last system that we were using, BNI Net Plus. So the historical value of this goes back a very long way. And it also means that regardless of, again, maybe you're not new to BNI, maybe you've been in BNI for a couple of years, but you're just new to BNI Connect, these numbers in the My BNI Business should all reflect your POMS history as well. So your referrals received, your thank you for closed business given, your referrals given visitors, one-to-ones, and CEUs. That should all be accurate. Now these numbers do, because they're pulled from the POMS report. So the POMS report, for those of you that may not know, is after each and every BNI meeting, every single week, your vice president goes back to his office or her office and counts out all the referral slips and takes attendance. So we have about 7,000 chapters now around the world that are doing these POMS reports each and every week. Because these numbers come from the POMS report, they will only be updated on a weekly basis sometime after your weekly BNI meeting. So that's very important to understand, because as we're going to go through and I'm going to show you how to do the online slips and how to enter POMS report and how to enter referrals and one-to-ones and thank you for closed business and all of that. When you enter them in, they won't show up here in the My BNI Business right away. What will happen is they'll be in a draft mode until you have had your weekly meeting. Only after you've had the weekly meeting and your vice president has submitted the report will those slips become official. They'll be turned in at that point and they will become part of your My BNI Business history. There is one number here though that does not come from the POMS report, and that's because it's a very private number. This number is the revenue received to my business. That is the top line here in the My BNI Business report. So this revenue received to my business, that's essentially how much money have you made in BNI. So the way that we calculate that number, because when you turn in a paper thank you for closed business slip, we're only recording the giver's side of that equation. So let's say that I had a thank you for closed business for a referral I received from John. I would come to my chapter meeting, I'd turn in a thank you for closed business, and John would get credit for generating that revenue. But there's no place in the system for it to put in that I received that money. And again, that's because it's private to me how much I made. However, when you start turning your slips in through BNI Connect, we can track it for you in a very private way without sharing it with the rest of the chapter, without sharing it with the world. I have godlike access to BNI Connect as a system administrator. I cannot access this information for anybody else around the world. So the good news about that is that we can start tracking it. The bad news is that if you are a long-term BNI member, as I am, it will only start accumulating from when you start inputting BNI Connect slips online. All right, if you'd like more detail about this My BNI Business and how and where the numbers are coming from, you can click on the My Personal Participation Report. And when I click on the My Personal Participation Report, this is going to give me the last 12 months worth of individual history. So this is going to give me the week by week by week data entry pieces of all of my different activities in BNI Connect. So if you don't know what all of these stand for, A is going to be the attendance. So it's either going to be, this is actually where POMS comes from. P for present, A for absent, L for late, M for medical leave, and S for substitute. So you're one of those 5 categories: present, absent, late, medical, or substitute. The next 2 columns, RGI and RGO. RG stands for referrals given. So that's when I have given a referral to somebody else. The O stands for outside. So a RGO is a referral given outside. And what that means is that I introduced somebody to somebody that they didn't know before. An RGI is an inside referral. That means that RGI, used somebody else's services. So again, I is inside, I used somebody else's services. RGO is an outside referral. It means I introduced them to somebody outside of the chapter members. The same goes for RR. RR stands for referrals received. There's always 2 sides to a referral relationship, the person that gives the referrals and the person that receives the referrals. So that would mean a referral received inside, so somebody else in the chapter used my services. And RRO means somebody else in the chapter introduced me to somebody that used my services. V stands for visitors. That means that I brought a visitor to the chapter meeting. One-to-ones are when we meet with somebody else in the chapter. Thank you for closed business is TYFCB. Thank you for closed business. That is, in this report, it is money that other people have thanked me for generating for their business. This is not money that I made, but money that I have generated for others. Again, this is the givers part of the giver's gain relationship. And finally, we have CEUs, which are the chapter education units. So just like you all are participating in a webinar today and learning more about BNI and learning more about BNI Connect, that would count as a chapter education unit. So make sure that you submit a CEU slip for attending today's webinar. If we scroll down this report, again, this will show us week by week by week by week exactly what is entered for our POMS report. It will then give us a quick summary of our attendance. It will show us the members that we've sponsored in the last 12 months and also what training we have attended in the last 12 months. Now, if you find that any of this information is correct, and the most common thing that I find is sometimes somebody will have, 7,000 CEUs, which is a little bit unrealistic. But if you find that one of these numbers is way off, all you need to do is to print this report out, circle where the error is, and bring that to your vice president. Your vice president should be able to go and to fix that in the back-end reports. All right, so that explains the POMS and what this is all about. So now how do we use this system to really record our weekly activity? So let's take a look at how to do that. This is going to be at the bottom of the home screen, and what we'll see at the bottom of the home screen is a bunch of links. And all of these perform a different activity. So the first 4 links here are the first 4 main activities that we do on a weekly basis. And that is submit thank you for closed business. So we thank other people for generating revenue for our business. The second one is when we have a referral for somebody. So we want to record that referral. We want to pass that new client's information over to the person receiving it. The third one is a one-to-one slip. The way to get to that referral relationship and to learn more about the people in your chapter is to make sure that you're doing one-to-ones with them and sitting down with various people on a weekly basis. And finally, the CEUs, again, like today's learning webinar. The next thing on here is the ability to track your referrals received. So when somebody else sends you an electronic referral, an online referral through BNI Connect, you can then track that referral. You can track the status of that referral. Has it closed yet? When did I meet with them? Did it turn into thank you for closed business? The next 4 are links to reports, and you can go in and review any of the slips that you've passed over the years. Now, I've been using this since it came out in 2012, so this is a great thing for me. I've started to accumulate a lot of data about my BNI experience, and I can share some of that with you in just a few moments. There is also a received referrals report. So not only can you track the referrals that you've received, but you can also just run a report on all of the referrals that you received. And finally, for your weekly meeting, you can print a copy of all of the activity for that week's meeting so that you can either announce it at the chapter meeting or you can even turn in a paper slip. So let's take a look at how this all works. Now, I'm just going to switch over to the training system here for a second, because I don't want to mess up my own data in my chapter. So let's use a test system here. So let's see how these different slips work. So let's do this. What if I had a referral for somebody? I'm going to go ahead and click Submit a Referral Slip. This is probably one of the most common things that you'll do as a member. You have a referral for somebody else. So all you need to do is to drop down this list here, and this will give you all of the names of the members in your chapter. So you just have to pick the person that you have the referral for. So one of the members in my chapter, his name is John Barth, a very uncommon profession in BNI. He is a professional composter. That's right, he has a composting farm. So this is the perfect time of year to have some great referrals for John Barth because everybody's starting up their gardens. So my next door neighbor was looking to find out where he could get some good high quality mulch. So I am going to refer him to John Barth in order to get that nice aromatic earthy mulch. So his name is Todd, and this is an outside referral. Again, an inside referral would be as if I was buying mulch from John, but instead this is my neighbor that's buying mulch. I both gave Todd John's card, and I told Todd that John would be calling him to set up an appointment. And the address and the telephone number and the email address, and finally any comments. Looking for mulch and compost. I can then rate this on a scale of 1 to 5, 1 meaning, yeah, you know, he might be interested, to 5 being, man, he really needs that mulch tomorrow. Down at the bottom, we have a couple of different options as well. We have submit and new, submit and close. Submit and new just means that I have a bunch of referrals I need to record. I just need to bring up another blank referral slip right away so I can enter all of those referrals one after the other after the other. Submit is just, I've just got this one referral. I need to get back to the home screen after I'm done with this. And close means, yeah, maybe this one's not ready yet, and I'm going to go back to the home screen without submitting it. So I'm going to go ahead and just click submit. Now, once I click on submit, that referral is now recorded in BNI Connect. And a couple of great things happen when that happens as well. The most important of which is that John Barth, my referral partner, who I just gave a referral to, he immediately got an email saying, hey, John, congratulations, you've got a referral. Here's all the information about the referral. Please give that person a call. For example, here's a referral that I received a few days ago, and it was rated 5 on the referral scale. This was David Nichols. He's actually a member of my chapter, so you can see this is a tier 1 referral. He utilized my services. But it has all of the referrals information. In this case, it is David's information. And the great thing is that I could click right here on the email and start the email process. I could give Dave a call, and then if this was a different referral partner, it would have all of my referral partner's information down here as well, so I could follow up with Dave if I needed more information about this referral. And because I submitted this slip online, it will immediately go into the review my referral slips report. So this will review all of the slips that you've ever turned in, and if I click go, right at the bottom of the report should be this slip that I just turned in for John Barth, and here it is. I turned this in on 4/7. It's an outside referral. It has all the details about it. And you'll see that it says that the draft status. So that means, again, as I was saying before, we meet on Thursdays, so we already had our meeting this morning. We won't meet again until next Thursday. So after next Thursday's meeting, my vice president will go in and submit that weekly POMS report and the attendance and everything else. And only after that will this change from draft to completed. But because it is here in the slips, I do know that it was successfully processed and that John now has a copy of that referral. All right, the rest of the slips work pretty much the exact same way. So let's say that you're having weekly one-to-ones. That's a great way to get to know other people in the chapter. You want to make sure that you record those one-to-ones. So you click on Submit Your One-to-One Slip, and this slip is pretty much the same as the other one. We just have a drop-down list here. We choose who we had our one-to-one with. So let's say that I had a one-to-one with Seth Jacobson. He's the photographer in our chapter and an amazing photographer at that. We just have to put in the location that we met. So we met at Starbucks, and we talked about good clients for Seth needs a caterer in the group. Okay, and then we put the date that we met, and we actually had met yesterday. And once again, I have the option to submit and new, to submit or to close. I'm going to go ahead and submit and new on this one. And one thing to notice is that only one person needs to turn in the one-to-one slip. That one-to-one will appear in both of our POMS reports, and it will appear in both of our one-to-one slips reports. So both people do get credit for it. Only one person has to do that data entry. Another option that appears on most of these slips, the thank you for closed business, the referrals, and the one-to-ones, is you should see a button there that says search cross chapter. So one of the great things about BNI is that there is a network in BNI that goes beyond your chapter. So it's more than just the 20 or 30 or 40 or 50 people that you meet with on a weekly basis at your chapter. There are multiple chapters in the state. There's 7,000 chapters. There's 195,000 members around the world in BNI. And that's a pretty vast network filled with a whole bunch of very, very professional people. There may be a case where there's somebody in another local chapter nearby that provides services that somebody in your chapter doesn't offer, or maybe they're complementary services, or maybe they cover a different service area than the person in your chapter. But whatever the reason is, we tend to have these relationships in BNI with other people in our area. And we can record the activity with other people in our region through the slips. All you have to do is click Search Cross Chapter. And for example, there is a person in my region. His name is David Cordero, and he is a website designer, does very, very unique type of websites, very high-end websites. You know, whereas the person that's in my chapter does more WordPress stuff, which is great for small businesses. But for the advanced stuff, I turn to Dave. So I still meet with Dave on a regular basis to have one-to-ones, and I met with him this week as well. So I'm going to do a search for him. One thing to know about the searches in BNI Connect is it is a database search. This is not a Google search. So you do tend to need to be a little bit more exact in what you're searching for. So for example, less is more. I can never remember whether he puts it in as Dave or David. So really all I'm going to do is put the first 3 letters of his name in here. And I can also never remember how to spell Cordero, so I'm just going to put the first couple of letters there. And here we go, it's David Cordero. And what you'll notice is even if I had done Dave Cordero, unfortunately, it didn't find him because it doesn't match any longer. That's why I usually like to cut it off on just the known digits there. So Dave Cordero, this is him. I can then choose him, and I can fill out the rest of the information about this one-to-one. And we met at Panera, and we talked about new designs in web technology. And we met for lunch just yesterday. All right, and of course, along with our referral reports, we have our one-to-one reports. So we can see all of the details of the one-to-ones that we passed. And again, if somebody else is submitting one-to-ones on our behalf, then we would see those as well. Okay, so here we go. Here's the 2 that I just entered, David Cordero and Seth Jacobson. And of course, these are both still in draft, and you'll notice the one from January is in draft as well. Again, I'm in the test system, so nobody ever submits the POMS reports on here, but once that is submitted, that will go from draft to completed. All right, thank you for closed business. This is pretty much the exact same as the rest of them. Just choose somebody from your chapter. Let's say Elizabeth Berman. She's the director of the Chamber of Commerce. By the way, Chambers of Commerce, they make a great member. They know everybody, and it's a great person to have in the chapter. And Elizabeth, she referred me a client that ended up doing $2,000 in business with my business. It was an outside referral, and I can write whatever I want in the comments. The thing about the comments, they are completely 100% private to you. Nobody else can read the comments. Only you have access to the comments. So when somebody else, like the vice president and the POMS report, when they see this information, all they see is that Elizabeth Berman was thanked for $2,000. They do not see that it was you that thanked them. That would be a violation of privacy. And they also don't see any of the comments in here. So I could put that this was actually for, John Smith at Acme Co. for a new server. Whatever I'd like to put in there. and I click Submit. And once I'm here, just like with the other reports, I can review my thank you for closed business slips. And here is the one that I just entered for Elizabeth Berman for $2,000. And by the way, if you do make a mistake on any of the slips, you can correct them as long as they are still in draft mode. All you need to do is click this Edit Delete Slips up here at the top. That will bring you into a screen that allows you to really either delete or edit any of the slips that are still in draft mode. So including the slips that I just entered today, for example, this thank you for closed business to Elizabeth Berman. If I needed to edit this one, I could go in and edit it. And let's say that wasn't supposed to be 2,000, it was supposed to be 2,750. I can then correct that and resubmit it. All right, and if I repull that report, we'll see that this has now been corrected to $2,750. Finally, we have our CEU slips. I'd like to make sure that everybody on the webinar today, go in, click on Submit CEU Slips, and make sure you give yourself one CEU for today's webinar. Now, in the United States here, we changed the wording of this, so it's 5 podcasts / a BNI webinar. If you don't see that, or let's say that you're doing some type of a training for BNI or an event for BNI that's not exactly listed here, it roughly goes by the number of hours of the activity. So, for example, the podcasts, bnipodcast.com, those are approximately 10 to 12 minutes each, which is why 5 of them is about an hour. So that's worth 1 CEU credit. It takes about 5 hours to read a book. That's why a BNI book is worth 5 credits. So just use your best judgment and make sure you give yourself an appropriate number of credits. I'm going to give myself 1 credit here and click Submit. And of course, there's the corresponding CEU slip reports. Now, at the end of the week, before your chapter meeting, the one thing that you do want to do is to make sure that you print your weekly slips so that you can go in and record that activity. So I go print my weekly slips, the bottom here. By default, it's going to give us the last 7 days, which should cover all the activity leading up to this meeting. If you happen to be, you were absent the week before or something like that, you can print out multiple weeks worth. Now, one thing you'll notice is that if I go to print this, you'll see the referral slip is about the same shape and size as a regular referral slip. That's because if you want to, you can cut this out with a pair of scissors and you can turn that referral slip in order to win the door prize. And if you choose not to do that, that's fine as well. You can also pass that off to the other person. For the VPs, you can also use that for the referral reality check. Down at the bottom, there's also the other information that you need to announce at the meeting, the one-to-ones that you had, the thank you for closed business, the CEUs. All of that information, though, doesn't come on a slip per se because there's no need to turn it in. The reason for turning in those slips before was that the VP could take them back to the office and count them. But they don't need to do that now because it's already in the POMS report form, so it makes their life a lot easier. Now, if you forget to print this out or you don't want to use your own paper, that's fine. That's absolutely fine. Just, you're always going to have referral slips available at the meeting. You can just fill out one of those, turn that in if you'd like to win the door prize. I do highly recommend, though, that you put an X through the top of it. That way, it's a nice visual cue to your VP that if they're counting up other paper slips, not to count that one. All right. We are at the bottom of the hour. Just one final thing to show you. There is a received referrals report. where you can see all the referrals that you've received in BNI Connect. Now, again, this is the test system. Let me bump back over to the live system here, and let me go to my received referrals report here in the live system. I don't have any test ghosts sending me any referrals in the other system. But here's all the referrals that I've received in the past 6 months. I can look back further if I want to. I could actually look back to, let's say 2012, when we first started using this, and I can see every single referral that I've ever received in BNI Connect. I can look at the details of them. I can check the status and who referred me and what the email address, and I can look up the phone number of the referral. All of that information is available to me now. And if I wanted to track any of those, I could use the Track My Referrals Received Online, and that would allow me to track the status. So for example, this one that I just received from Dave Nichols a couple of days ago, I can put that this has now closed because we already took care of this. We actually contacted him on the 30th. We met with him on the 31st, and I actually followed up with him at this morning's chapter meeting to make sure everything was okay. Now, even if you put thank you for closed business in here, this does not impact the POMS report. You do need to submit a slip separately. This is just for your tracking purposes. I can then click submit, and the nice thing is that in his referrals given report, he will see that I marked that as closed. So now he knows that this process with that referral has gone full circle. All right, so as I said, we are at the bottom of the hour, so what I'd like to do is, I realize some people may need to leave right away to get to their next appointment. I'd like to thank you guys all for being here today. I would like to also open it up to any questions. So if anybody has any questions whatsoever about the online slips, about POMS, about referrals, please do ask those questions now. I love answering questions. Just a reminder, there is a couple of resources available for you. You notice the handouts section of the GoToWebinar software right below or above where you put the questions in. There's 2 files there for you if you'd like to take those with you. One of which, well, they're both the same file, just in 2 different formats. It's the online slips and how to do all of these various things in Word and PDF format. Feel free to download those and share them with your chapter. If you are listening to this via recorded webinar on YouTube, then please just send an email to support@bniconnect.com. Again, that's support@bniconnect.com, and we will be happy to email you those files as well. All right, are there any questions at all? So John says, do we have to forward a description of the CEU or reference or referral numbers? Nope, you don't have to forward anything else. Just entering the data right here into BNI Connect is all you need to do. So there shouldn't be any additional paperwork or anything necessary, just submitting your 4 types of slips. So does that answer your question, John? Cool. Let's see, Mark says, I'm a VP, do I have to enter all of the slips for my chapter members? And Mark, no, you do not. This is designed that if your members would like to utilize this great technology, the fact that we can track all this additional information, they can do that themselves. However, as a VP, we would never expect you to enter all of these details for all of the members of your chapter. This is something that really only they can do themselves. So if they choose not to participate in this and they're just handing in a paper slip, then all you need to do is to basically, when you enter the POMS report each week, just put a 1 in the column, not the rest of these details. So again, if you want the advanced tracking, you do have to enter all of the details, all the referral information yourself in BNI Connect. But excellent, thank you for that question, Mark. Any other questions? All right, if there's no additional, oh, hold on, one came in. John says, would we get credit for reviewing the previous seminars? Yes, if you want to get credit, just go ahead and submit another CEU slip. These slips are not dated, really, so you can go ahead and submit those for ones that you hadn't previously gotten credit for. That's perfectly fine. Cool. All right, any other questions? Oh, John said he has another question. I'll wait. All right, let's see. John says, I have an MSP sticker at the top of my report. So yep, right up here, if you have taken the member success program, so if you've been to a member success program, this sticker will be here at the top of your screen. If you have taken an MSP program, the member success program, and that sticker is not there, that means that you just need to contact your regional office or your director consultant or whoever it was that conducted the training. They just need to make sure that they mark the attendance properly for that event, and you will have that show up on your record. Perfect. All right, Andy asks, will the members be notified that I've put in thank you for closed business? Andy, the answer to that one is no. They will not be notified. The only notification that goes out is for a referral. And the reason that we can't do that for thank you for closed business is, again, we have to keep the thank you for closed business anonymous. Just think of it this way. Let's say that you're a lawyer, for example, and you happen to be a lawyer that does criminal defense or something like that, and I refer you to a friend of mine that was, I don't know, maybe had a little bit too much to drink, or they're getting divorced, or something like that, that's of a personal nature, and then you end up turning in thank you for closed business for, let's say $10,000 or $20,000, I'll be able to deduce just by the fact that you turned in that money what the nature of the settlement might be, or things like that. So, in cases of, you're building a house or you're selling a computer or things like that, might be more benign, but people like financial advisors and doctors and lawyers and, people like that really need to keep that information confidential, and we have to err on the side of caution on that. So that's the reason why there's no notification. It's also why we don't show the name of the other sides of that. All right, so hopefully that answered your question. Cool. John says, so we can't mention the thank you for closed business from a member at the meeting. That is at your discretion. So announcing it at the meeting, again, if you know that the other member is okay with it, yes, you can announce that information at the meeting. Even announcing it at the meeting, you do want to be careful with it, especially with certain professions. But again, at least mentioning at the meeting is not the same as having it in writing. But good question, John. All right, any other questions? Love the questions today. Thank you. All right, so if there's no additional questions, I just wanted to say a good referral for me. If you liked this format, if you got something positive out of today's presentation, a great referral for me is to please let your other chapter members know about these webinars. Again, this is part of a series of webinars. They can either check out the recordings or join us live. Our very next webinar is going to be this coming Tuesday, April 12th. Same time, so it's at noon Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern. We're going to be talking about connecting with other members. So this is going to be the really the social media side of BNI Connect. How do we find other people in the system? How do we search for people even in other countries? And what some of the benefits are of doing that. So once again, thank you all for being here today, and I look forward to seeing you on a future webinar. Happy connecting.